I tell you, this first mission Shabbos, I have a mental block against it. I don't know why. It just I can never deal with it. Too complicated because of the arithmetic involved. Yitzias Shabbos, the Isra of Hotzah on Shabbos. Shtaim Shem Arba Bifnim. There are two which are 4 on the inside. Shtaim Shem Arba Chutz, and 2 which are 4 on the outside. Beis Etzad. How does this work? Beis Etzad is like Ketzad. Ani Yomei B'Chutz. The Ani stands outside. Ba'Bais Bifnim, and the owner is on the outside, in the inside. Pashad Ani is Yada Lifnim. The poor person sticks his hand inside, but Nasa Toch Ba'Bais, and puts something into the hands of the Ba'Bas. Oshanot Hamitoch takes something from within the hands of the Ba'Bas, Voti, and takes it out. Hani Chayev, the poor person is liable. Ba'Bais Potter, and the Ba'Bais is exempt. Right? So, in these cases, the Ba'Bais is just a passive. The Yoni is doing the entire Malacha, either by taking out, or bringing in, putting in, and he's Chayev. Now, the opposite case, Pasha Ba'Bais is Yada Lachutz, and the Ba'Bais extends his hand outwards, and puts something into the hands of the poor person. It takes something from within the hands of the poor person, and brings it into the house. Ba'Bais Chayev. In this case, Ba'Bais is Chayev because he does everything. Vani Potter, and the poor person is exempt. Pasha Ta'ani es Yado Lifnim. If the Ani sticks his hand in, not how Ba'Bais bitocha, but the Ani did not do that. No, he didn't put something down. The Ba'Bais took from within his hand. Oshanasa Socha, or the Ba'Bais put something into the hands of the Ani. And then the Ani took it out. Shnei P'turim. They're both exempt. Pasha Ba'Bais is Yodo Lachutz, because one did Akir and one did Anocha. So since they did the full Maisa, so therefore they're both exempt.
So why isn't this Emin Yochel over Zayin Yochel?
No, because each one was Yochel. Each one could have done the whole thing. They didn't choose to do the whole thing. Pasha Ba'Bais is Yodo Lachutz. The Ba'Bais sticks his hand outside. V'not Halani Bitocha, and the Ani takes from within it. Or Shenot on the Socha, or he puts something within it, V'yichnis, and the Ba'Bais brought it into his hand. Shnei P'turim, they're both exempt. Okay, again, the same idea. Each one did half of the activity. Hanoch without Akir without Hanoch. Ma'u Shtaim Shem Arba. Shtaim Shem Arba. What are 2 which are 4? Shtaim L'chiyuv is it mean that the 2 chiyuvim deraisa. Ushtaim L'p'tur, 2 which are exempt, meaning they're only drabanans. Or Arba L'chiyuv, V'arba L'p'tur. Or there are 4 chiyuvim, which add 4 chiyuvim and 4 p'turim. Now, what do we mean by this? So this is how the Mashbiach explains it. What is the meaning of the Mishnah? Mamish a mental block against this. That was mean the Mishnah.
This is similar to the Batley. So.
I know. Just in general. In general, no difference between Batley and Yerushalmi. Whenever it comes to being of Shabbos, my mind snaps off. Does it intend to combine the 2 exemptions in the Seifa with the 2 chiyuvim in the Reisha? Whereas when it says Yitzil Shabbos Shtaim Shem Arba, does it mean that the 2 chiyuvim in the Seifa, the 2 exemptions in the Seifa, which are what each person does half his potter, is together with 2 chiyuvim in the Reisha? So you have 2, which are 4. In other words, you have Hotzah and Achnasa, and one is Chayiv and one is Potter. 2 are Chayiv and 2 are Potter, right? In which case, Panim refers to one standing inside, and Chutz refers to one standing outside. Okay? Shtaim Shem Arba Bifnim means that you have 2 which are 4, meaning 2 chiyuvim, which also can be manifest as P'turim, for somebody standing on the inside, or 2 chiyuvim which are also manifest as 2 P'turim for somebody who's standing on the outside. So the 2 are Hotzah and Achnasa, which are 4. There are some because the 2 Hotzah and Achnasa in classic sense, one person does the entire activity. Hotzah and Achnasa, where your potter is where only each one does half of the activity. Is that the way to explain Mishnah? Or does 2 which are 4 refer to Achnasos and Hotzos of Chiyuv? In other words, it's possible to have 4 cases of Chiyuv, right? Hotzah of the Ba'Bais, Hotzah of the Yoni, Achnos of the Ba'Bais, Achnos of the Yoni, right? And really, Shtaim Shem Arba Bifnim, Shtaim Shem Arba Chutz is really very different. According to this, it means that does 2 which are 4 refer to Hotzos, Achnos of Chiyuv, both the Yasher and the Yoni. In other words, 2 Hotzos that are 4 with the Achnosos, and then subsequently there are an additional 2 that are 4 that are exempt. Later on in the Mishnah, it refers to the exempt ones. In other words, when it says Shtaim Shemar, but at the beginning of the Mishnah, it's not referring to the Pturim at all. It's referring to the Chiyuvim. Only the Chiyuvim. The Pturim are not enumerated. Now, according to this, what does Bifnim and Bachutz mean? So he says an amazing thing. He says, the Mashbiach says this, and the Isor Chaim Kanievsky picks up on this as well. He says Bifnim means Doraisa, and Bachutz means Drabonan. Why is that? One or two reasons. Bifnim because that's the inner part of the Torah, and the Chutz is the outer part of the Torah, right? The Mishmeres, right? The surrounding. Or Pnim means that which you're bringing a korban for, which is brought inside the Beis HaMikdash. And Bachutz means that which you're exempt on a korban for, because it's only the Rabbanan. Okay? So those are 2 different pshatim. So now, again, let's read the Mishnah both ways. It could be Tziyatz or Shabbos Shtaim Shem Arba Bifnim, 2 which are all chayev. Bifnim meaning chayev. This is the second way we learned. 2 which are 4 are chayev. In other words, Hotzah and Achnosa, and both the Yoni and the Yoshir, right? So that's 2 which are 4 are chayev. And then the Shtaim Shem Arba, the 2 other ones which are 4 bachutz, which are potter, right? When neither one of them did the full activity. Okay, that's the second way of learning. The first way of learning is to say that for the person standing inside there are 2 Doraisas, which are 4, including the Rabbonats. And the person standing outside, there are also 2, which are 4, the 2 which are 4, 2 Doraisas, which come out to 4, including the Rabbonats. Okay, let's read that more again. What is Shtaim Shemarba? Shtaim L'chiv doesn't mean 2 which are Chayev and 2 which are Potter. Okay, so 2 which are 4 means, or 2 chayev and 2 potter, and the bifnim and chutz means for the one standing on the inside, one standing on the outside. Or arbel chiv or arbel iftor. Or when it says tzilzu shabbos shtaim shemar bifnim doesn't mean that all 4 are chiyuv, and for that you bring a korban, meaning pnim, or that's the doraisa, meaning pnim, and then there are 2 which are 4 bachutz, which is the rabbana. Okay, so that's the question. The Shmini Minado. So which one is it? Let's learn out from here. It says Shvuos Shtaim Shem Arba. By Shvuos, you have 2 which are 4. And over Rabbi Ba said, Taman over there, Kula Chiv. The Shtaim Shem Arba over there is 2 L'Shavar, Shachalti, Shalochalti, right? And Lahaba, then you have Lahaba, right? Which is Sha'ochal or Shaloachal, right? So those are 2 Lahaba and Lavar, and Shein Arba, which are positive and negative. And they're all the Doraisas. They're all, as according to the second Pshat, Pnims, right? They're all Pnims. Right? Being Korbanos for all of them, and they're all Doraisas, right? We started already. Okay. We're talking about the first Mishnah in Shabbos again, and the question is whether, when it says that there are 2 which are 4 in the first Mishnah, it says 2 which are 4 twice. So when it says the first 2 which are 4, Shtaim Shem Arba, does it refer to all the part? The 2 which are 4 does it mean 2 which are 4 in all the Oraisos, or 2 which are 4 and some Doraisas and some Dorabanan? That's the Gemara's question. Okay? So we brought a proof from Shavuos, where all of them are Doraisas. By Shavuos, all of them are Doraisas. 2 which are 4 by Shavuos, in Masechta Shavuos, and they're all the Doraisas. So now, Amar Rabbi Ba. Rabbi Ba is the third from the last line, is an asterisk. Amar Rabbi Ba, Tamar Kula Chiyuv. Over there, everything is a Chiyuv by Shavuos. Abram Hacha. However, Chiyuv Ptura Sina Misnei. Here, it's different. Here, 2 of them are Chayev, and 2 of them are Potter. So we learned 2 which are 4 are half the Rices, half the Rabbanans. Okay, so when it says the Pnim and Chutz, according to him, it means the inner guy and the outer guy. And each one has 2 d'oraisas where they do complete the entire melacha, and 2 d'rabbanans where they do half of the melacha. Hadamara arba l'chiyuv v'arba I misread that again. Sorry. I don't know. I didn't put a question mark there. I knew I was going to make this mistake. I read it wrong. Here is it going to be half chayav and half potter? It cannot be. It's not like that. So it's bitmiya. Because if 2 by which are 4, they're all d'oraisas, so 2 which are 4 here are also d'oraisas. That's the implication here, is that they're parallel mishnayos. So Hatamra arbel chiv arbel ptur. So it's actually like the second half. Mr. Zuger, the second half of the second way to learn. I said second half. I meant the second way to learn is that when it says pnim in our Mishnah, it means d'oraisa, because d'oraisa is the inner part of the Torah, right? And the chutz is outside, and that means d'rabbanan. So since over there in Shavuos, when it says 2 which are 4, they're all d'oraisas, so too here in the Mishnah, when it's open it says 2 which are 4, it also means all d'oraisas. No d'rabbanans, okay? The d'rabbanans are the second part of the Mishnah, when it says Shtain Shem Arba Bachutz, okay? And that's separate. It says more further, based on base, Rabbi Yisrael said, Mas Nisa Amrokein. The Mishnah says this, Shavuos time shem arba, Shavuos 2 which are 4. Lo l'chiyuv, does that not mean they're chayav? The Kabbalah says Shabbos time shem arba l'chayav. So here by Shabbos is the same thing. Okay? I'm wondering. Give me a second here. Okay, so it says Gemara, Vatani.
No, it was the same, it's the same language, so how do you get...
No, it's all the same, right?
So
they're all the same, Shavuos and Shabbos. Now, Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Bar are really saying the same thing. Okay? Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Bar both say, obviously there's various different ways in which to read Rabbi Bar, and maybe I'm not fully correct about how to read Rabbi Bar, but the way I explain the Gemara, both Rabbi Bar and Rabbi Yossi are going to say that since the Mishnah Shavuos is parallel, so therefore both are coming to say that they're the 2 which are for all d'oraisas. The 2 which are for all d'oraisas, in the Pnim is all d'oraisas, and the second 2 which are for all the Rabbanans. In other words, they're 2 separate entities in our Mishnah, and not mixing and matching 2 which are for part d'oraisas and part Rabbanans. That's the way I'm learning. Both Rabbi Bar and Rabbi Yosef saying the same thing. Okay? Again, let me read it over again. There you're all chayiv. Here he wanted to be chayiv and potter. It must be that where the 4 which are mentioned as pnim are all chayiv, and 4 which are mentioned are chutz are all potter, right? And then Rabbi Yossi says the same thing. On Rabbi Yossi Mesisam Rakeh, Shavuos Time Shem Arba, right? Lo chayiv are they not chayiv? The Kabbalah Yitzir the Shabbos Time Shem Arba l'chayiv they're all chayiv. V'atani. And we have another proof for this. Interesting proof. Classic Yerushalmi proof. V'atani l'osas heichel shtaim shem arba. It says that the doors of the heichel are 2 which are 4. Because remember, the doors to the heichel were French doors. They folded back. Okay? So there were 2, one on the inside, one on the outside, and now the French door had part of his night to do with it. I take that back. The 2 which are 4, which the heichel had double doors. There are 2 here and 2 there. So it's 2 which are 4. One opinion is that the French doors, one is that they just fold it flat. But in any event, so there, Isoch Meimer Lo Chiv Lo Ptur, you're going to say, it's impossible to say, according to the Mashbiach, he changes here, it's from law to Ella. just like the Yerushalmi drops the aleph very often in other places, so here too drop the aleph. So ela l'chiyuv ve'ela l'ptur, meaning that ela l'chiyuv ve'ela l'ptur, meaning that just like there, the doors are not that we say two which are four by doors. It's not possible to be mechalik and say some are doors and some are not. So to here, which it says when it says two which are four, it means that they're all of the same type. Mean in the Reish of the Mishnah, which says pnim, it's all chayev, and the Sefer, it says chutz, it's all potter. So a very interesting thing Yerushalmi comes up with, which is that pnim and chutz mean here differently than what the Bavli understands it. Pnim and chutz means daraisa, and chutz means drabanan. Not pnim on the inside, pnim on the outside. The chutz on the outside, that was the initial understanding. We rejected that and we said pnim and chutz means daraisa and drabanan. Okay? Says the Gemara further. Ask the Gemara the same question which we have in the Bavli. In fact, Nisnei Shnei are potter. There are 12 cases where you're potter. Why is that? Because there are cases where I'm completely passive, where somebody puts something into my hand, or somebody takes something from my hand, and the four such cases. Why are they not included in the counts? Right? We mentioned potter as a case where I do the akir and you do the anocha. What about where you do both akir and anocha and I'm just passive? There you're chayev, but I'm potter. Why is that mentioned as well? So says the Gemara, lo asina misne ela potter shu keneged achiyuv. This is a similar text which we have in the Bavli, which is that the Bavli says that the guy who was just passive didn't do anything. And here too, we're saying the same thing. The guy who was passive didn't do anything, so we're not mentioning him. He's like, a bump on a log. So therefore, there's no point in mentioning him here. It's just, he is, the Yerushalmi thing is medayik. It says, we're not going to mention things other than ptur shu keneged chiyuv, only things which are ptur, which correspond to chiyuv, means that the ptur is of the same ilk as the chiyuv. Now, by that I mean to say that the guy who's completely passive is still over in Avera. What's Avera is over? We've named Messiah over Avera, right? He's helping the guy who's transgressed Avera. But it's not a Shabbosdik of Ptur and Chiyuv. And we're looking for Shabbosdik for phenomena of Ptur and Chiyuv, right? So therefore, even though he's doing something improper, and that's why it's Potter, not Mutter, right? Nonetheless, we're not mentioning it here. Okay? No, but you missed a very important Yerushalmi already. And to interpret the first Mishnah completely different than the Bavli.
Write down on your notes. So
Yeah.
next year.
Here. You'll have to take the Mashbiach home with you.
Okay.
The first Mashbiach. Very important Mashbiach. Okay? Says Gemara. I brought you homework also. This is what your assignment for Beit Asmani is to read the introduction. Not the introduction, because the Mavo.
Yes, I will.
Yeah, because he didn't, this is his Mavo to Yerushalmi.
Okay, that's great.
Okay? Says the Gemara, I'm Rabbi Yesi, I skipped. I'm Rabbi Chia. Rabbi Chia bar Abba. Rabbi bar Abba said, Ma'u ahein poter t'nin hacha muter. Now this is a very strange answer. This answer is not in the Bavli. The Bavli asks the same question. That lets allude to the people who are just completely passive, from whom the hanocha for the akir is being done, or upon whom the hanocha is taking place. Right. So let's mention them. So the first answer was like the Bavli, that they might be over Messiah, they're over Avera, right? But they're not part and parcel of Chiyuv Shabbos. That's why they didn't have mentioned. The second answer is very interesting. He says that that which it says in the Mishnah, Patur, is referring to the ones who are Mutter. In other words, this is from the Pnei Moshe, I saw this. That which is, this is all totally not like the Bavli. When it says Shaim Sheimar Bo Bachutz, which means two which are four which are Patur, what does it mean? It means the guys who are mutter. Potter in our Mishnah means mutter.
And we're talking not, when we say two which are four, we don't mean to allude to those people who are doing half a malacha, akira or anacha. We mean the guys who are mutter. We mean the guys who are just standing there passively. So therefore, in fact, when we say Shtayim Shem Arba, we're specifically referring not to the guys who did it Rabbanan, we're referring to the guys who did it Raisa. Okay, this is like the this is a interesting thing. I don't know. I was about to say it's like the Yerushalmi. I know the Yerushalmi holds whether Potter and Om Sechta Shabbos means mutter or not. But this Yerushalmi is saying that Potter in the first Mishnah here means mutter. Okay, this second answer. No, it's Potter meaning mutter. Okay, period. It's a big chiddush. We'll see if the Yerushalmi holds consistent with this. Rabbi Yisrael Beis says, Anir ve'ashir echorein. The Anir and Ashir, they're both the same. The Chacham enumerated them as two, meaning there's no qualitative difference between the two of them. There's no difference between the who transgresses what. It's just, among the Chachamim, in order to give an explanation, they separated them. What were they trying to explain? Achnasa ve'otzah echorein. Similarly, achnasa and otzah are one thing. Something between bringing in and taking out. Chacham enumerated them as two. Okay? Yitzias Shabbos. Now ask the Gemara if that's the case. Yitzias Shabbos in achnasa bichlal. Now the Mashbiach says all the Mefarshim contorted themselves in explaining this line. He says in means ha'im. It's like im. Right? It's a question. Not to be read ein, but rather in. Yitzias Shabbos, when it says Yitzias Shabbos, is achnasa also included? When we say Yitzias, does also include achnasa. So it says the Gemara, and continuing the question, Hamoti Rishus Lishus, where you take from one domain to another, in Hamachnis Bechlal, is achnasa involved in that as well? The Shmini Minada. Let's prove it from here that it is. Tamar Rabbi Yosef b'Shem Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Yasser b'Shem Rabbi Yochanan, Heichnis Chatzi Grogeres. If a person does achnasa on half a shiur, half a grogeres, v'hotzi Chatzi Grogeres, and then he does hotzah on half a shiur, chayav. So you see that hotzah and achnasa must be the same thing. Minayin shotzah. Now, true, that's obviously the point of our Mishnah. Not sure what the Yerushalmi is trying to prove here. I guess we're trying to bring extrinsic proof, but it's obvious in our Mishnah that we're learning achnasa and otzah are the same thing, right? That's the whole point of the Mishnah. The ani putting in and the ani putting in, the usher putting out. It's all the same. All right, not sure. Minay otzah kuri malacha. How you let otzah is called a malacha. Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachman Shemer said Shamalu minado. He learned from the following pasuk. This brought down in the Bavli. Moshe decreed, and they made a pronouncement in the camp saying, "Ish v'ishal yasu od malacha l'trumas hakodesh." No man or woman should do any more malacha for the trumas hakodesh. And the nation refrained from bringing any more stuff for the construction of the Mishkan. The nation refrained from taking other houses, in order to give to the treasures of the Beis Hamikdash. Rabbi Chizkiah b'Shem Rabbi Hila said, "Afilu achnasa at shma minah." You also learn from this achnasa not to bring in on Shabbos. Kishem shlim nuam lo tzimi batenka, just like they didn't take things out of their houses. Litin is going to give into the treasures. Kach nim nuakis borim mila kabel miyadon. So too the treasures refrain from taking it into their hands. Bring it into the offices of the Mishkan. So therefore we see in this pasuk alluded to both Otzah and Achnasa already in the Torah. Rabbi Chizkiah b'Shem Rabbi Yacha. His name Rabbi Yacha Shama Kulun. He learned both of everything, meaning Otzah and Achnasa. Miradein Karya, from this pasuk in Yirmiyah. Lototi Masa Mibatech Miyom Shabbos. Do not take a load out of your house on Shabbos. Do not do any work. Now, where's achnasa here? So it's missing part of the pasuk. Actually, the end of the previous pasuk. The end of the previous pasuk says, "Valtisu masa biyom haShabbos va'avesem b'shari Yerushalayim." Do not carry loads and bring them into Yerushalayim. So you see their achnasa as well. right? There's Hotzah and Achnosa mentioned in this.
Another example of using nach to learn.
Learn using nach. But you know what's interesting also? I just realized that. It seems like at this time at least, Baris Rishon, Yerushalayim had an Eruv. The second Beis Hamikdash, I don't think it had an Eruv. First Beis Hamikdash had an Eruv because when...
The wall, just the wall of the city as an Eruv? Or
yeah, wall of the city. Because it says when Erev Pesach came out on Shabbos, said the whole Shai Gemara Pesachim, how to bring the knives to the Azorah because there was Rishus Harabim in Yerushalayim. So it's maybe it's there's I seem to remember something about maybe the Greeks making holes in the wall. Maybe that's why it was a Rishus Harabim second Beis Hamikdash. But here you see clearly that the year Navi is telling them don't bring stuff from outside Yerushalayim into Yerushalayim. So that's Yerushalayim is a Rishus HaYachim.
When was the ban of bringing a lulav to the Beis Hamikdash?
Second Beis Hamikdash. Second Beis Hamikdash.
That's proof.
Right. Right. Well, it's not proof, but it's would fit in. Rabbi Yasser b'shem Rabbi Yochanan. Getting back to what we said before, Rabbi Yasser named Rabbi Yochanan.
This thing about nach, I'm just thinking, this is really a smachta. It's not really we're not learning the din per se. It's not like
The question what he means by shama. You're right. It might be nasmachta. There's also I forgot. There's the Rokeach who says he brings down a pasuk here. He brings down. I'm not sure. It doesn't really fit into our Gemara. It seems like he had different gears than Yerushalmi. It says that the Yerushalmi brings down the pasuk. Aniyotze Yonah Diyoima. That Hashem said B'chatzos Laila Aniyotze B'tzusoch Mitzrayim. Right. At midnight, I'm going out into Mitzrayim and I'm going to kill all the B'chayros. So here we see that Achnas is called Hotzah. It says Ani Yotzei B'tzoch Mitzrayim. Okay, so that's Achnas coming into. Okay, so Rokeach, I don't know. Again, it seems like he had this girsa, but I don't know where he put it in.
Not collecting the money on Shabbos that wasn't considered proof about Achnasa.
It doesn't say that explicitly. It just says Al Yetze Ish Mimkomo. It doesn't say don't carry it back home. It just says don't go out. So therefore, it's not as good of evidence as this. Rabbi Yasser Shir Me'elon said Hichlis Chatzi Grogeres. A person brought an half a Grogeres, Voti Chatzi Grogeres, and then did also an half a Grogeres. Chayev, he's Chayev, as I said previously. Top of Beis Hamikdash now. Madamar Rabbi Yochanan. Without Rabbi Yochanan said, the low Rabbi Yosef. It's not like Rabbi Yosef. What do we mean? The Tani, we learned, Haiti Chati Grogeres, a person took out half a Grogeres, the Chosar Voti Chati Grogeres, he took out another half a Grogeres, B'elei Mechad in one period of forgetfulness, Chayev. B'shtei Lemos in two periods of forgetfulness, Potter. Rabbi Yosef Omer, B'elam Echad B'rshus Echa Achas Chayev. If it's one Helen, one period of forgetfulness, and it's in one domain, you're chayev. What do you mean? From one Rishus HaYachid to one Rishus HaRabim, or vice versa, or 4 amos to one Rishus HaRabim. However, be'elim echa b'shtei rishuyos, if a person did otzah in one period of forgetfulness, but from 2 separate rishuyos, or b'shnei elemos, or in 2 elemos, b'rishus hachas, in 2 separate elemos in one rishus, right? Which obviously the 2 periods of forgetfulness they're divided in the middle. Potter, he's exempt. Okay, now this we have difficult. The kasha on the first statement made Rabbi Yossi, ilu otzah ena mitzdarfos. If otzah and otzah don't join together, Rabbi Yossi, like Rabbi Yossi said, like Rabbi Yossi, I think it's supposed to be Rabbi Yossi. Yeah, he brings down here the Girs is Rabbi Yossi. Imbo tzav achnasa. So the same person we just had. Imbo tzav achna again. B'kash ilo tzav atzayin mitzarvis Rabbi Yossi. If Rabbi Yossi holds that you do tzav from one door and tzav from the other door. In other words, let's say there was Rishus HaRabim over here. I'm sorry, Rosh Hashanah over here, Rosh Hashanah over here, Rosh Hashanah in the middle. So the Otzah from here to here and the Otzah from here to here don't join together, right? That's what Rabbi Yossi holds. So it certainly holds like Lo Koshke Achnos of Otzah, that Achnos and Otzah won't join together. So therefore you must clearly argue on Rabbi Yochanan. So Rabbi Yochanan holds Otzah and Achnos join together. He holds even Otzah, but from two different locations doesn't join together. So it's clearly a machlokas. Says more Rabbi Ila, heavy by the Rabbi Yochanan look Rabbi Yossi. So must be Rabbi Yochanan who said the Otzah Achnos join together is not like Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Ila said, Lo sof davar shnei psuchim l'shtei paltios. You should know it's not just where two Rishus HaYachids are open to two separate Rishus HaRabim, Platio is Plaza Rishus HaRabim, Elfil psuchim l'plati achas. Even if the two Rishus HaYachid are open to one Rishus HaRabim, they don't join together. That which you took up one Rishus HaYachid into Rishus HaRabim does not join together with what you took up from another Rishus HaYachid into another into Rishus HaRabim, even to the self-same Rishus HaRabim, in order to make you chayav.
Even according to Rabbi Yochanan? Or
What?
Even according to Rabbi Yochanan?
No, I think it's specifically according to Rabbi Yossi. Yeah, I don't think it's true.
She's just repeating what Rabbi Yossi said.
Yeah.
Something new.
Where am I now?
Of Rabbi Yossi.
Of Rabbi Yossi Moda. Oh, it's the same thing. Of Rabbi Yossi Moda. Also, Rabbi Yossi draws a distinction, however. Says Gemara. Rabbi Yossi also draws a distinction. What distinction does he draw? Says Gemara. The Rabbi Yossi Medame Rishios Lemos L'chiyuv. Rabbi Yossi likens Rishios to Lemos, domains to Lemos, to that they're both chayiv. How so? Now here's a major typo. It should be actually the order should be reversed here. That's brought down. The Mashbiach brings it down, and Lieberman brings it down, and also you have the Gemara with Shimon. Oh, no, he doesn't bring it down. Sorry, they bring it down. It's supposed to be. But I just want to tell you that fragments from the Geniza on Shabbos. I don't know if they had on Zroim, but they had on Shabbos. So he brings down occasionally Srei Yerushalmi, right? The Srei Yerushalmi means the stuff which they had they found in the Cairo Geniza. So this is the way to read it. Look inside carefully. Kimod Rabbi Yossi Medame Rishios Lemos L'chiyuv. Just like Rabbi Yossi says, Rishios and Lemos are similar vis-a-vis chiyuv, in order to make you chayav. Kach Medame Rishios Lemos L'ptur. So he learns Rishios Lemos to ptur. What do we mean? Shimotzi kigrogeres b'pesach zeh. If you took out a grogeres out of one Pesach, ukrogeres b'pesach zeh, and a grogeres at another Pesach, belim echad, in one period of forgetfulness, shema eino chayev shtayim. Do you think he's not chayev too? Of course he's chayev too. So too here, where he did half a grogeres from each one, he's potter, because each one is separate.
This is hella method, though.
Doesn't matter. That's Rabbi Yossi Svara. Each one is separate because they're physically different.
But it's a different situation if you're taking half and not being mitzaref for the other half. Here you're chayav v'chatos just for the one grogeres that you're taking out. So if you're taking out another grogeres, but it's the same hell, then it would make a difference if it's Helam Acher or not.
I'm not asking. Again?
He's saying that you're Chayav 2 chatos if you're taking one grogeris out of one doorway and another grogeris out of another doorway.
Right.
So, isn't it logical? Who would say that you're not chayav to chatos?
Oh no, Gemara's going to argue momentarily. Momentarily, Gemara's going to argue. But the Gemara at this stage is saying it's logical. Chayav to chatos. And Gemara is saying that that's why there's on the other side it's also logical to say if you took half a grogeris out of each one, what would be your lacha?
According to the machlokas.
According to this, what would the halacha be?
It seems that it's like it's mitzaref.
No, it's going to be potter. If you hold from, of course, if you hold from each courtyard, oh, come on. If you hold from each house into Rishus HaYachid, to Rishus Rabin, you're chayiv. That means you're chayiv too.
Yeah.
It means they're separate. So to take a half a gazayis of each one, what's your status? They're separate. So what are you? Potter. Right?
Yeah, well, that makes sense, except I thought we're in the middle of discussing Rabbi Yossi, who says that you're a chayiv.
No. So says the Gemara, let's see that again.
That's what I thought also.
Okay, no, Rabbi. This is what Rabbi Yochanan is the one who says you're chayiv. Rabbi Yochanan said, Oti Chatzigeres Richnis and Hotzi is chayiv, right? We said Rabbi Yochanan is not like Rabbi Yossi, right? Not like Rabbi Yossi. The Rabbi Yossi says, Bele Mechad, look at the third line of Gemara again. Bele Mechad, third line of this page. Bele Mechad b'shus achad chayiv. Bele Mechad b'shtei rishuyos, or b'shtei leim b'shus achad, potter. You see? Bele Mechad b'shtei rishuyos is potter. Right? You see that?
Yeah.
Okay. Right. So that's what he said. Having the my Rabbi Yochanan, look Rabbi Yossi. I think maybe I did some. I made a big blooper before. Maybe that's why I confused you. Let me read Amar Rabbi Ila again. It's not just where you have two. Yeah, no, I read Rabbi Ila right. It was the next line, which I might have made a mistake on. Let me read Rabbi Ila again. I mean, with the divided for Shusay Yochid over here, Shusay over here, Shusay Ram in the middle, Kon Rabbi Yossi. If I take from this is Shusay Yochid to here, and this is Shusay Yochid to here, I'm chayav too. And therefore, if I take a half from here and a half from here, I'm potter. Right? Because they're not mitzdarif at all. Period. Not at all. Right? So says the Gemara. Now, of Rabbi Yossi Modeh, this is where I made a mistake. Of Rabbi Yossi Modeh. Also, Rabbi Yossi concedes. Rabbi Yossi Medame Reshuyos La'alemos L'chiyuv. What is Rabbi Yossi conceding here? No, that's the next line of switch the line. Yeah.
I thought you switched them both.
No, not this one. But I forgot how to read this one. I'm not going to admit.
That was the second line.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, so the way the Mashbiach explains is very simple. That they're mechulak. Not like Rabbi Yochanan. In other words, the word modeh here is fake. He's not conceding anything. What's he saying? He's holding on to a shita. He's saying that they're two separate chatzeros, right? So modeh is a misnomer here. Now listen again. The Rabbi Yossi Kima, let me read again the way the Mashbiach and the Cairo Genizer change it. Kima the Rabbi Yossi medam rishus le'alemos lechiyuv. Meaning they're chayav on each one separately. Kach medam rishus le'alemos leptur. That the half a grogeres from one is not mitzvah from the half a grogeres from the other. She might say grogeres b'pesach zeh, grogeres b'pesach zeh b'leimecha shemein chayiv shemein chayiv too. So too you're part if you take a half a grogeres from each one. That's all one opinion. Now Rabbi Yehuda comes along and argues. Rabbi Yehuda comes and says baloney. Rabbi Yossi medam rishus achilas parsim. Rabbi Yossi makes a linkage between rishuyos and achilas pras. What does it mean achilas pras? Right? You ate half a kazayis, not a matzah, of treif. Within Kedei Achilas Pras, V'chatzi zayis, another half a kazayis, B'so Kedei Achilas Pras, Hazeh, within another Kedei Achilas Pras, Shema and a potter. Are you not potter? Obviously potter, right? We all agree on that. You're potter. Rabbi Yossi, Rabban, everybody agrees. Because it's out beyond the shiur, right? You can't be Chayim Malkus. Now, however, what happens if you ate several kizaysim in several Kedei Achilas process, belim echad, in one period forgetfulness, how much you chayiv? How much chayiv? Only wife. Sheinu chayiv alachas.
Same.
Now, who remembers from the Bible? Who argues? Who holds your chayiv in each kazayis? No, Rabbi Eliezer. Let's hold the chayiv in each kazayis. When you have a hamburger of treif, you hold the chayiv in each kazayis. Okay? But we paskin that, like this Yerushalmi says, you only chayiv one. So too Rabbi Yossi will hold. Rabbi Yehuda argues, says, even Rabbi Yossi agrees, that if you take from kazayis from here, or grogeres from here into Rishus HaRabim, and grogeres from here into Rishus HaRabim, you only chayiv and tzelim echad once. The p'tur is true. If you take a half from here and a half from here, you're exempt. Now, Rabbi Yochanan. He's still arguing Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan says take a half from here and a half from here, you're chayiv, because they're mitzvah. Rabbi Yossi disagrees, he holds they're not mitzvah. But he must concede that if you did two, one from here, one from here, it's like the big burger. You only chayiv one, you're not chayiv two. Okay, and that Rabbi Yehuda argues what he holds in that case. Okay, Rabbi Kisarin said they had a taina on the moshel, and they didn't like the way he said it over. I mean, they said, instead of making a tzushtel, making a parallel to chaylev, in other words, to achilas iser, to eating something which is aser, to minol Shabbos. Bring a comparison to something similar to it, something also which is Shabbos. What's a similar comparison? I'll give you one. If you knit one thread in this garment, right, and another one thread, right, and one thread in this garment, you're not potter? Obviously you're potter, right? You need a rig of two threads in one garment. Two threads in this garment and two threads in this garment, and a chayv elachas, right? So to Rabbi Yossi's got to concede that you only chayiv one. Okay, no matter how many kazayts you got for various different rishuyos. Rabbi Yossi b'shem Rabbi Yochanan said. Rabbi Yossi named Rabbi Yochanan. Hamotzi enu chayiv ad sheyaniach. You're only chayiv when you take something out if you put it down. Rabbi Yaakov bar Yad b'shem Rabbi Yochanan said ad sheyitov ad sheyaniach, until you do not just hanoche but also akira. Ad sheyitov is akira. You have to uproot it. Rabbi Zira required even more. You gotta pick it up with the intent to put it down. What if you picked it up with the intent to wear it? Or you picked it up with the intent to, what is it, good example?
Keep carrying it all Shabbos.
Yeah. But there's another case which I saw brought down. I forget who said it. I forget where I saw it. It's not that germane, but yeah, the mashpia brings out. If you take it to eat it, it took it in and then decided to walk out while it was holding it ready. But I picked up a chocolate bar with the intent to eat it in my house, but then I walked out with it into Rishus HaRabim. So I'm potter, right? Because the akira wasn't l'shem hotzah. It has to be akira l'shem hotzah. For the intent of putting it down later in a forbidden domain. That's what he says. Okay.
But you're not eating it because you put it in your mouth. Is that a form of hanocha?
We're going to get to that. But you didn't eat it while you were walking here, okay? but we'll get to that point. Since Rabbi Zira said that, so there it follows, if you took it to eat it, and then decided to put it down, lo have a chayiv is not chayiv. That which Rabbi Yochanan said, however, is the low Rabbi Yossi. Nalik Rabbi Yossi. What is Nalik Rabbi Yossi? The Tani we learn, Toti Chati Grogeris Vinicho. If a person took out half a Grogeris and put it down, the Chazavoti Chati Grogeris, he took out another half a Grogeris. If you put it within 4 amos of the first one, chayev. If not, you're potter. So it's not just enough to do 2 activities of otzah in succession. They have to be joined in some way in the end. How do they join in some way in the end? Within Daled Amos of each other. Okay. So
why do they have to be joined? I mean, it's the same rishus. So what difference does it make if it's 8 amos away or 4 Daled Amos away? Why do they have to be joined?
No, the two they're both 4 amos away from the initial point.
Okay.
And they're within 4 amos of each other. So otherwise you don't have a grogeris. What makes it a grogeris otherwise?
Oh, okay.
Okay. I guess what I would want to answer you, to give you a better answer, is Hotzah is melacha grua. Right? Hotzah is a lesser form of melacha. So therefore we need that the end result is going to be on a full shiur. Something to that effect. Okay? So in any event, says the Gemara, Rabbi Yossi Omer, Rabbi Yossi says, so what I'm up to?
I think so.
4th line down.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, Rabbi Yossi, derech oleh chayav. Says a different shot. He says if you pass the second grogeris over the first grogeris while you're walking, you're chayav. If not potter. What does he hold? Like what Bavli term?
Robert?
No.
The Avir?
No. Mahalech ko'ime dami. He holds if you walk over the first piece, the first half of grogeris, while holding the second half of grogeris, you're chayiv.
Kluta.
Not kluta. Kluta is even when it's traveling through the air.
Yeah.
But it's mahalech ko'ime dami. Right? So lichoira, you don't have to. It's not like Rabbi.
Didn't remember it.
No. You don't remember the concept of mahalech ko'ime dami?
No.
You remember God's roim.
It's 4 months ago.
No. We had it more recently in 4 months. I had it to look on the side of Shabbos not pay.
Oh.
What book are you reading this morning? What book are you reading now during the morning?
How far did you get, by the way? Cool club.
Barely, it's the top of the next number. Barely, but it's I don't remember. Okay, we did a blot this morning. A little bit less than a blot. Okay, so K'mod Rabbi Yossi Haved now Rabbi Yossi Haved Mahalech K'meniach. He says if you passed over it, this is in the Bavli, I think it's Ben Azai who says this. If you passed over something, not pass over, you passed through something, and you're walking, you don't stop as if you stopped. That's Malcolm. We don't pass that way. We pass in Hanochas only if you actually physically stop. But Malcolm means even if you're still walking, it's as if you stopped. No recollection whatsoever. He pointers. All right. So the concept here, obviously, Malcolm Mikadami would mean that if you took a half a grogeris, and then you took another half a grogeris and walked over the first one, so the mitzdarif. Rabbi Yochanan doesn't hold that way, right? Rabbi Yochanan holds you have to actually be stationary within 4 amos of it, not just have walked over it. Okay. So it says Gemara, Kimod Rabbi Yossi Avei Mahal Chamal Keminiach L'chiyuv. Just like Rabbi Yossi says, walking is like standing still to make you chayiv. Kach u'avid Amal Keminiach Liftor. Well, actually, it's a question. K'mod Rabbi Yossi Avid Amal K'meniach L'chiv Kach Avid Amal K'meniach Liftor. Does he say the same thing for Ptur? No, it's L'kula. Just like he says the L'chumra here. Does he also say L'kula? If that's the case, Kevin Shotziu Nasa K'mil Shanichu Sham. how does the second half ever get within 4 amos of the first half? How does it work? The moment you take it outside the doorway, it's as if it's resting. Right? Malchus Gomi Dami. So how do you get it there? So Gemara, that's really a klutz question the Gemara is asking. Gemara gives a klutz answer as well. Says the Gemara, Dipate Shaisa Nesuna Tochal Daud Amos. So about where the first piece of whatever you took out was on the ground, within 4 amos of the doorway. Right? So when you get right outside the door, you're getting within 4 amos of it. Okay? So it says the Gemara, Ke'ahada Ditani. Well, if that's the case, it should be, I think somebody actually changes the Gisha, but it should really be Ela Hada Ditani, or like. Like here means, but if that's the case, like, what do you say about this? Right? Wait a minute. If that's the case, how do you have a case where you're potter? Every time. Now, I don't know. It's funny. It's a funny question the Gemara is asking. But the Gemara is asking, it's always going to be within 4 amos. Why it's always going to be within 4 amos? Now I realize the Gemara's question. I didn't understand when I was print, but now I understand it very well. If you don't mind, let's go dami. So the moment the first piece, the first half of Grogeris left the house, it's as if it stopped right on the threshold. Even though now, let's say you carry the piece another mile once you left the threshold of your house. But it's as if it stopped right past the threshold, because Malchus Koimitami. So where's there ever a scenario where the second half of Grogeris does not mitzdarif with the first half of Grogeris? It should always be mitzdarif, because it's as if that Grogeris, that first half of Grogeris, which I took out, is munach here, and here, and here, and here. And then when I pass, and even though I took it then another mile, it's as if it's leaving a trail in its wake. And then when I take out the second half of Grogeris, of course it's mitzdarif with the first one. How is it possible even ever to be depict a scenario p'tur? You're always going to be chayev. It's a great question.
No, maybe it was not mahalach. The first chatzi Grogeris, wherever it's mahalach ka'omed. As long as you're mahalach. Once you stop mahalach, you're not omed.
Outside.
We just need to hold the door. Yeah, okay, sorry. So,
once you stop being mahalach, you're no longer an omed. Mahalach ka'omed. Only so long as you're mahalach.
No, certainly omed is omed. I'm not sure of the argument you're making.
No, but what I'm saying is that mahalach ka'omed, you're saying that automatically it freezes at the doorway. But that can't be.
Why?
You can say mahalach ka'omed, omed ka'omed, as long as this object is in one of those states. If it's mahalach, so then you say never left the doorway. If it's omed by the doorway, then it's omed by the doorway. But if you're in mahalach already a mile away, can you now say, once you stop being mahalach, that halachically it's by the doorway? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, well, because it was there.
It was, but it's...
Yeah.
But not anymore, so you don't...
As long as the second Grogeris hits somewhere where the first Grogeris was, within 4 amos of where the first Grogeris was, it joins. Even though it's a history already. Because where it's Heli Machas, it joins together.
You have to use your imagination.
It's lumdus.
I was thinking...
That's what we call lumdus.
No, what if it's no longer mahalach? Maybe the concept of mahalach only is only when it's passing over the airspace of the other chatzi Grogeris that's all made. Maybe
No,
that's the only time.
that's what I was assuming, that it's not. We're assuming that as long as, even though it's no longer there, over the airspace, but even over airspace where it's no longer where it once was. The airspace of Anocha.
I share the difficulty.
Why? It's a beautiful question. I can't believe you guys. It's a beautiful question. No, it never. It's historical. As long as it's telling Mechad, it's as if there's still a trail there. It's as if they're 1,000,000 chatzi grogros between the doorway, which are where I exited, and the mile away where I now am. And therefore, any place along that line, and within 4 amos of it, and a second half of grogeres, which I take out as mitzaref to the first one. I think it's fantastic.
Well, I understand what you're saying. I just think the Mahal Chomet ends at some certain point.
Where you dropped it.
Yeah, with a trail. It's like leaving a trail.
Yeah. Well, you're no longer holding it anymore. That's the only time. And look at where's the answer. Now I understand the kasha. Before I didn't even understand the kasha. Now I understand the kasha. So it says, Amarova bar braid rapapi. Oh, it's a great answer now. Tipartu tell you about the crusade about Pesach Rochav Chamesh Amos. The doorway was 5 amos wide. So the first chatzi grogeres you took out on this side of the doorway, and the second chatzi grogeres you took out on that side of the doorway, and the trails are more than 4 amos apart, so that's why they can't be mitzdarif. Gewaltig. Okay? Again, Tifat Rochav Chamisha Amos, V'oti Achas Lekan, V'achas Lekan. One on this side, one on this side. You didn't take the second one down 4 amos of the first one. Great. All right. Tama Tanina. We learned over there. New issue. Shabbos Votio. Now, this is a case in Croesus. Case in Croesus is the Gemara says, a very famous Gemara says, Yesh oichel achila achas v'chayvel of chamesh chatos. You need one thing, chayim chatos. If it's chaylev and it's from an avela, Gemara goes through a whole bunch of things there. Tuma, pigul, right? All that stuff gets joins there together, right? So okay, one of those cases. So Rameir adds another case, another issue. He says, if it's Shabbos and you were doing otzah as you were walking and eating it, right? So you're chayiv, okay? Chayiv on otzah. Now Amrulo. So they said to Rabbi Meir, this is not what the Bavli says. The Bavli says that the reason why otzah is not mentioned is because otzah is achila. I mean, otzah is not achila. It's not isra achila, right? We're talking about yesh oichel achila achas b'chayev chamesh chatos. So it says this is Shabbos and that's ochel. We want to talk about the achila isra. But here it says Amrulo eino min Hashem uzeh. Eino Hashem. This doesn't count. Eino Hashem literally means not part of the name. This year chaya, these chiyuvim are because of holech. V'zeh chayev mishum meniach, and this is chayev because you walk. Now, what does it mean? Here, the chatos. What it means to say is the other 5 chatos, you're chayev even while you're walking. But as long as you're munching on the pigul, neisar, chaylev, nevela, whatever, all the things together, right? So then, it can't be nevela, treifa. So it couldn't be pigul otherwise. So as long as you're munching on all these things, okay, treifa doesn't become pigul either. I remember, I guess I'm going to trade. It's Kodesh, Betuma, Chaylev, Nosar, and Yom Kippurim. It's not pigul. Okay. So in any event, but what? Shucks, yeah. So in any event, so whatever the case may be, so the bottom line is that those 5 are because you're eating. And that you can even transgress when you're mahalich, when you're walking. Hotzah you can only transgress if you are meniach, if you stop at some point. So it's not comparable, that's what Gemara says. Says Gemara, Manu Amrulo, who's the one who said this? Rabbi Yossi. I don't know, we know it's Rabbi Yossi, we assume it's Rabbi Yossi. Actually, maybe it's not Rabbi Yossi, maybe it's Rabbi Yehuda. I don't know, it's just the shiur here, right? Could be Rabbi Yehuda, right?
Would Rabbi Yochanan also be
No, yeah, this is a time. This Amrulo has to be an Amora. No, in the bottom, he says Rabbi Yossi. So Manu Amrulo, the Shnun Schos says Rabbi Yossi. So Manu Amrulo, Rabbi Yossi. If that's the case, Rabbi Yossi, I got a problem. So God shivs Rabbi Yossi. Because Tam and Lo there he says, in order to transgress, so what do you got to do? Hanacha, right? So it's not good enough to walk. You got to do hanacha. But we just proved over here Rabbi Yossi holds Malach Koimei Dami. So therefore Rabbi Yossi couldn't say to Rabbi Meir, it's not comparable. This is when you transgress, even while you're walking. This you transgress when you put it down. You don't have to put it down in order to transgress Meiniach, but in order to transgress Hotzah on Shabbos. Even if you're walking, you're still Chai, because Malach Koimei Dami. So what he's saying is that Malach is Meiniach, right? The Kohavira Malach Meiniach. Rabbi Yehuda said the Pater answered like this. To explain it's like this. Mutala Skupa. We're talking about a case where the guy is standing on a threshold. Miktsasa bifnim upiv lachutz. Part of him is inside and his mouth is out on the outside. Upashat yodo. So he extends his hands. Okay, I'm on the threshold. My torso is in Rishon Sayachid. My mouth is outside. I extend my hand, take an object, put it in my mouth. It's still outside, right? Now I swallow. It goes into my stomach. Where's my stomach? And on the threshold on the inside, right? V'nakla v'ochla. And he takes it and he eats it, right? So here, it's not comparable. Varei lo hilech. He didn't walk at all, right? He didn't walk. So here, what he means to say by Varei lo hilech means that Mahalach is really Koimei Dami. Really, all over it's about Mahalach Malas Koimei. But here, what we mean to say is that you need, in this case, Mahalach Koimei doesn't help you because you're stationary. What's going to make you chayav in this case? Hanochas me'ov, when it rests in your stomach. Because where's your stomach? But on the other hand, all the other isurim which you transgress when you eat something, when you transgress? Time when you mouth. Anos, grono. When you chew it and get benefit in your throat. So therefore that's what he meant to say. That what Rabbi Yossi said when he Omer Lo, he said it's not comparable because this you can transgress b'mahalech, meaning not necessarily walking, but in any form of transit. Even when the food is in transit, the food is in transit down your throat, right? Zeh meiniach means not that you have to stop in order to transgress Hotzah generally, even if you're walking. But here in this case, the food has got to stop where for you to be chayev? In your stomach, okay? Because it got to get into your stomach, which is in the other rishus, in order to be chayev, okay? So that's what it means here. Again, Muta was on the threshold, his torso was inside, his mouth was outside, Pasha extended his hand, but not Klavalacha. He's not walking. Yet I need Hanocha in his stomach in order to be chayev on Shabbos, even though for all the other isurim, the moment it gets into his mouth, well, it's still in transit, so to speak, you're ready chayev. I'm Rabbi Yana. Rabbi Yana said, Bala Chatzi Zayis. What happens is you swallow half a zayis of chalev or of dam, v'kiu, and then you regurgitate it. V'chozer Bala. You swallowed it again. Chayev?
Well, at least the carbonator says Chatzi Zayis Acher. It's not that gross.
Really? That's what he says. You're right. Pnei Moshe argues. Pnei Moshe says, Miyad shadayin lo nisaka v'chozer below loso chatzi zayis. That's the Pashut shot.
Why? Carbonated makes more sense.
No, in the carbonated case, they'd say you're much more chayiv. Because you got to know it's going of two separate ones. I'd say it's Pashut you're chayiv in that case.
Throw it up, that's not hanoah.
What?
If you're
sure, you got the nose grown. No, you got your nose already. This is after the fact. I don't like the carbonated shot. Okay. Ichnis chatzi grogeres v'chazer v'otzio. You brought a half a grogeres into your house, and you took it out again. Potter, you're exempt. Mabin el bein kad mesa. You swallow a half a ice, and you regurgitate, swallow again, you're chayev. Yet here, if you take the same half grogeres out of your house, and then into your house, and then out of your house, you're potter. What's the difference? It says more tama nena cheko because here in the case of the regurgitation, He got on us going of a kazayis. Brahmacha, but here, Loni Sasi Grogeris Shlema, he didn't get a full, he wasn't involved with a full Grogeris. Why was not involved with full Grogeris? Because what makes it into a full Grogeris?
You need a full Grogeris. This was only
right.
The same chatzah.
There's only the same chatzi.
So on the food,
Yeah.
it's the same chatzah.
No, but the chiv is on Hanoah. So that's the Yerushalmi stressing.
You're going to get a second Hanoah, even though
right. Tamanene cheko. That's the deal in Yerushalmi. Tamanene cheko because Kazayis. A Kazayis he doesn't have. But Hanoah is gone of a Kazayis he's got. So he's chayiv. Okay? Rabbi Yisrael said, Paul Mishimisasik because Grogeris Shlema. So otherwise he's even involved with full Grogeris who part and you're exempt as well. Hey Chavito, what's the case? Hoti Chatzi Grogeris. He took out half a Grogeris, Vinichon, he put it down. V'chazav Hoti Chatzi Grogeris, and then he took out another half a Grogeris. V'lo Yispik Lanicha, but he didn't get to put it down. Ad Shenisrafa Rishayna. Till the first one got burnt up. Hagei Nisasik Grogeris Shlema. You were involved in a full Grogeris, but Patur, it's still exempt, right?
He obviously doesn't hold from Halicha Omeid.
No, he doesn't hold out. Well, no, he doesn't hold out. Right? It's got to get within 4 amos with the actual one. Begin midamaisa l'chachol chalavin. Why do you bring down this case? Why do you want to bring down this case of a full Grogeris? Because since we're being medamet the chalavim, right? There, Ruavi Kane, he does that. It's by Chalovin. It's about a case where you got a full Hanoah's garden of a Kazayis. So we want to bring down also a case where there was a full Kazayis here. That's why he brought this case to compare it to.
And it's not burning up inside the stomach. The digestive juices didn't start.
Not if we regurgitated it, yeah. Then we can deal about the digestion. But digestion not the chiv anyway. It's Hanoah's garden. Okay, guys. It's early, but I'm stuck. This is all I prepared to. We'll pick up from here after Pesach.
This next part is what just came up in Shabbos just about 10 blot ago.
Yeah.
I'm most here, Rishus HaYach, Rishus HaRabbi, Derek Carmelis.
Yeah. But it's also going to be about Malach probably. Okay, we'll stop here nonetheless. We're really ahead. We're ahead. That's not bad.
So we resume that Monday?
Monday, yeah.
20th.